You know the day destroys the night, night divides the day. Try to run, try to hide, break on through to the other side. Break on through to the other side. Break on through to the other side.
God bless America. Welcome to The Ranch, everybody, the podcast where we explore the people and happenings of Dry Creek Ranch, Eagle, and the greater Boise area. The shout out to the business today, Eagle Alliance Jiu-Jitsu. I actually train at this place twice a day, and my kids go, so I'm there actually 3 times a day because I go and help coach, but I just really enjoy it. I know a lot of people have been asking about jiu-jitsu places and places for their kids to train, that specific to adults sometimes as well. I can't emphasize enough, Alliance Jiu-Jitsu is fantastic. And again, I've been a black belt for about 9 years. I've been training jiu-jitsu for a long time. I greatly respect the proprietors of this place, and I really enjoy the people I train with. So if you're looking for a jiu-jitsu spot, that's the one to do. So again, Alliance Jiu-Jitsu in Eagle, it's fantastic. My guest today is the farmer here in Dry Creek Ranch. And we talked a lot about the CSA because it is kicking off on May 16th, and he wanted to get some information out there. I actually didn't know a lot about farming and CSAs at all until I met this guy, and I love chatting with him. He's fantastic to just go back and forth with, and he always teaches me a ton about just the farm life and what we're connected to and what we're disconnected from when we shop at other places. Not to put down Albertsons or anything like that. I mean, look, we all need to get reliable groceries, but having an opportunity to be part of a CSA like the one here in Dry Creek Ranch is a real treat. And my family and my neighbors, we all really enjoy it. So I wanted to get some information out there, and the farmer also wanted to get information out there about what to expect and what's going to happen this year. So without further ado, the man, the myth, the legend, Farmer Dan.
That was good. So Dan, listen, you and I this is our third conversation, and every single time we sit down, we end up talking about the most out there stuff. Wonderful conversations, but we almost never talk about farming. And I've had a lot of people ask me, they're like, look, I understand a CSA is a community supported or community sponsored agriculture, but they don't really know what that means. And so again, we're kicking off the 2023 season. Explain it to me like I'm a 5-year-old.
Yeah. So CSAs, community supported agriculture. It started somewhere around the 80s, I think. And it really was a way to give the farm operating income when it needs it the most in the beginning of the season. When there isn't when there's nothing to sell, but you're buying the seeds, you're buying all the supplies for the year. So it basically ended up being a subscription service. And so you're just paying up front for the veggies you're going to get later. And it did a couple things. It kind of, I don't like the framing of it this way, but it has the consumer take on some of the risk that the farmer has. So you're not guaranteed any certain amount of vegetables, but diverse farms like this, you're always going to have something. So if a storm like what happened the other day comes and shreds all the bok choy, sorry, you're not going to get bok choy for at least a little while that comes. But the other stuff that didn't get damaged, it's going to be fine, and you're going to fill the bags with that. So,
and in exchange for that risk, right? Because the consumer takes on risk, but what the consumer also gets is a real connection to food production, right? Because everybody likes the idea of having tomato plants in their backyard, but I grew cauliflower one year, and I was so proud that I got cauliflower, but it is hard to grow cauliflower and bok. I did bok choy. Yeah, you got to have these things, and again, being removed from that, it's one step that the average consumer can take, or the consumer in this area, right? Because this is specific to Dry Creek. Yeah. It's one step that the Dry Creek residents can take to really engage with food production, to not just go to Albertsons, to not just be like, hey, I got organic Honeycrisp at Winco. No. That was it over there. That's where the bok choy came from.
Yeah. So you're doing but you're also sharing in the bounty too. So you're putting in that money, and that that's guaranteeing you the share of the harvest. And so it was just a really cool way to get people. And like I said, community supported agriculture now, it really just most of the time just means a subscription service. There's tons of farms around that have them. They're all great, and but this one is community supported. It is here because Boise Heart Homes wanted to have a farm associated with this community. And so it's here because of that. And that's why the cost for the residents here is a lot lower than, other CSAs in the area, because it's subsidized. Like this really is a community-supported agricultural program, which is really pretty cool. Yeah,
it's a fundamental thing in DCR. I remember when we were looking to move here, one of the things was like farm-to-table community.
Right.
And we were like, what is that? What
does that mean?
Right. And then they're like, there's actually a farm in the community, and you can get groceries delivered from it. Like you get boxes of produce and stuff. Yeah. So, and again, I've done them before, right? In the past in California, but honestly, the one you did last year, I mean, the produce you were delivering, the quality you were delivering, I was like, this is a little different than, the green orange that I would get. And occasionally I get surprised by something, but what I was getting before wasn't really compelling. I was like, I don't feel a real need to re-up on this. I mean, we tried it a little bit, and my wife and I cook a ton. We cook every single day. So it was like, it's not like I couldn't just enter the ingredients into the food production that we were making, but they just weren't really that. Yeah, they were like, it's kind of like a couple potatoes and some other stuff.
Yeah.
So I've been really impressed with the quality of your stuff.
Oh, good. Yeah.
And I mean, that's just my family last year, and those little carrots you do, they're so good.
Yeah.
They're ugly as hell, but they're so good.
I know. That's because we're still working on the compaction out there. The soil is so bad.
But that's what carrots are. Yeah. Like the giant mammoth, like forearm size carrots that you get from Costco. It's like, there's some dude, you'll never meet him, and he's growing these carrots in the middle of nowhere. And it's like, that's fine. So it's just, there's a lot more character and authenticity, I kind of feel like, to the produce.
So it really gets you connected to, and like, you really are supporting the operation at when I do need the income the most. Like, 'cause, I'm paying labor, and I'm buying seeds, and I'm getting all the supplies and everything. So, that's why signing up for between February and when it starts, and even later, you can join any time in the season. We'll prorate it for you. For newcomers to the neighborhood or whatever.
And to be clear, once the production starts, it gets delivered to the door.
Yeah.
Like, you don't have to schlep down and pick it up. Not that it's a big schlep. You can go down.
You can. We do offer on-farm pickup, but like default is delivery, because then we just do a loop through the neighborhood, and it's great. Yeah.
Yeah. Chris coming through with all those green bags hanging off the back. We always got so excited when we saw him come around. We're like, everything's here. Like, it's like Christmas in July.
So I did kind of want to crap on CSAs for a little bit, though.
Okay.
Because I do think they are a clunky model for a lot of people. Like, excuse me, man. So you don't get a lot of choice. You're signing up for the veggies, and you're gonna get whatever the farm is harvesting at the time.
Sure.
Anywhere from like 4 to 9 items, just depending on the time of year and what's coming out. And so there's surprises. If you don't like surprises, it doesn't work. It's common whether you're like there or not. So if you're out of town a lot, CSA is probably not a great option. And it's just with all the other like things out there that are like subscription based, like Blue Apron, those kind of things, where you can pause, whenever you want to
on the app,
and you can pick which ones you're getting. You don't get that choice with this. It's some farms that are a little bit bigger can do that, and maybe in the future we will have like one where you can pick and choose what you're getting. For now, though, if you want to do that, just come to the markets. Tuesdays 4 to 6, Saturday mornings 9 to noon.
Gotcha.
And get the stuff there, and we appreciate that business too. We got meat and other stuff.
But traveling,
that you can get that way. But
even when the produce is getting delivered, we had our neighbors. They would, when they went on vacation or something, they're like, "Oh, we got this bag of greens, or here are onions or whatever they were bringing over." And it was like, "Okay, great." Again, into the food production cycle at the Todd House. So
if you're going to be gone, we definitely encourage tell the neighbor that's not on the
come and grab it.
Come grab it.
Yeah. Now, you don't just sell produce at the market, right? You all right over there? You got a water.
Yeah,
right there,
I know.
big guy.
Sorry, I've just been fighting stuff, man. The allergies are going crazy.
I was gonna say for a man who has allergies, you're outside just
And I'm out in the dirt.
In the dirt. I got the black lung pump. So again, you sell protein too. That obviously is not off the farm.
Got some frozen meat and stuff from local growers, McIntyre, Thomas Cattle, and a couple others, and. Been hard to find a consistent egg, but we're gonna find it.
So, I think that's more of like a national problem. It's
right,
not really like a Farmer Dan problem. Yeah.
So yeah, we want to be, and I try and get fruit different times of the year and stuff too. So we'll watch like the Facebook group or the Instagram for like when those kind of come around. But yeah, we always got the veg going, and local honey too. Speaking of allergies, some great Steel Legacy honey that like the hives. We have a dark honey that they collect from the hives just around here. Awesome stuff.
Yeah, the super local
all the time. Yeah,
yeah. My we've gotten
right,
several things of that, and it has very much helped my wife and one of my boys with allergies. And it's like it tastes great too. I mean, it's like it's a little spoon. Yeah, it's an awesome thing. And again, that super local aspect really helps reduce the necessity for allergy medicines. At least I believe so, and I'm sure you do.
Anecdotally, yeah. I mean, you're always gonna. Some people it's not gonna work for, but like, I don't know. I there's something there for sure. Yeah. So I kind of crapped on CSAs a little bit. Let me try to sell it back though. Okay. Because I do think like, especially if you're trying to make a life change, if you're trying to eat more at home, eat healthier, and get more creative in the kitchen, like CSAs are such a great way to do it because you're getting the stuff. You're not even sure what it's going to be. I sent an email out of what's going to be in the bag the night before. And then if it's something that's a little more unique, I do try to include like a link to like what it is. And like, usually it's another bigger farms like CSA page.
Right.
And they'll have like, I like ones that have multiple recipes on there. And then we'll also do some cooking classes and stuff that we kind of spark some ideas on what to do. But yeah, because in the spring, it's a lot of greens that people don't necessarily know what to do with. Stir fry. I mean, that's mostly what it's going to be for me,
awesome.
anyways. Because like I like my Asian sauces and stuff,
right.
and even in the mornings, like getting some Mizuna and cracking an egg in the middle of it and stirring that up, and good.
I'm a huge fan of that, like sautés and stir fries and whatnot. We did a big spread charcuterie tray, and I wanted to have like water chestnuts and the little I mean, just all that stuff is so good. Yeah. So but I really think if you can kind of like get over the hurdle of like the not knowing what's coming and shyness of cooking with stuff you're not as familiar with, it can be a game changer for like a family's eating habits. And I don't know about you, but I get in ruts where we're eating out often, right?
And I say that as a farmer, sometimes in the height of the season too. It's just like
you're exhausted.
So I'm
you're lacking creativity. You don't
on my way
take the
home.
initiative.
So I know how hard it is. But when you're getting that bag every week, and it like set yourself the goal of like, okay, we're gonna get through this before we get the next bag.
Right. It also presents things that I was telling you before. Years back, we had a produce box that was coming. It had these beets in it. My wife looked at it and was like, "Oh, beets! Like, what are we going to do with beets?" I was like, "What are we doing? Like, beets are amazing. I'm a huge beet fan, right?" And where we had never purchased beets before, we all of a sudden really enjoyed these beets that were coming in the box. And then, of course, once the box stopped, we tried to, find the beets at like Costco or some other place, and they just didn't have them.
Yeah.
There was nothing. She was getting some that were like peeled and like in this water in this like sack. And we're like, this is nothing compared to like the fresh beet.
Yeah.
It's really hard to beat that.
Yeah. So and that's the other, like, people are telling me like their lettuce mix, if they don't go through it, lasts 3 weeks in the fridge.
Right.
So like stuff is coming to you super fresh, even though it might not necessarily look that way. Part of that, especially if like you're not home to get it and it's been on the bag in the bag on your porch all afternoon, maybe getting direct hit by the sun.
Right.
There are ways like just dip in some cold water, get in the fridge, it'll perk back up usually. So like it might not look, the best, but like you're gonna see the freshness or taste the freshness,
Right.
And
Another
in that
easy
way, so.
thing too is if you know you're going to be at work and the delivery is coming, just put a cooler on your
Yes,
porch.
I'd say that.
It's like just drop it in the box.
Easy peasy,
Have an
yeah.
ice, one of the ice packs in there or something, and just
Yeah.
look, piece of cake. No, none's the wiser.
Yeah, it makes it easy for Chris to notice the cooler. Like, yep, that's
Yeah, right.
easy to deliver.
Yeah.
So yeah, it can be a game changer, like I say. Like, and now we have an option this year. If it's just like two people in the household and it's like too much produce, which honestly that's the biggest complaint, and that's nationally on CSAs, that it's too much produce for people. And
What did you want? French fries? What do you want to show up here?
I mean, fair enough. Two people, I do try to, be generous with how big stuff,
Right.
how much I'm giving. So, I sometimes I have to tell myself, like, okay, they don't need that big a bunch of kale, like.
Right.
So like I do try to hold back. I do try to make it reasonable. So you're not going to get just like a ton. It's going to be something that you get through within a week. But for some people, it is too much. And so we are operating a half CSA that's delivered every other week. So rather than 20 weeks, it's 10 weeks. And we just, there are a couple of like holidays where we take a break. And so like for some, it might be 3 weeks before you get or 2 weeks before you get the next one. But we're the schedule wise, it's every other delivery. So, if you're worried about that, sign on for the half one. That can really help out. If you're because people don't like to throw stuff away,
Right.
Too, and they feel like they're
Then
not
they get
getting,
discouraged.
Yeah, and so like if that's the case, move over to the half, and that'll work out better. Yeah.
But I mean, again, whether you're on vacation or just not consuming it enough, like we had neighbors that just passed the stuff that, like you're saying, a couple, right, with a like a 2-year-old, right? And they're like, we're not going to get through this lettuce, and they work a ton, so it's coming home and they need a little bit more calorie dense stuff sometimes, and they're like, I can't do a giant salad right now.
Yeah.
They're just eating whatever, but just they gave it to us. It was like fine, just like share with the neighbors, like community. The CSA doesn't mean like it has to stay within your household.
Yeah.
Right. Like if there are some things, for instance, my wife can't really do a lot of kale these days. So, when we get kale, I'm not saying don't take the kale out. I'll eat some and then I'll give it, to other people that do like kale. Like you can, this is like, elementary lunch, right? Let's just trade it up.
Yeah.
Like, let's find something that
Totally.
everybody likes.
I love hearing about that stuff. Yeah. Because like every household is different. I've done polls in the past, like at the end of the year, being like, what was there too much of? What was there not enough of? No. And it's so funny because I literally like one right after the other, like not enough tomatoes, and then the next one will be like too
many
much.
tomatoes.
And I'm like, you can't, and so and that's the clunkiness of the CSA model in full color.
Sure.
But it's still important. It's still worthwhile, I think, to do this, to join a CSA, to provide a CSA. Like even though like I said, there are other options that have more choice and stuff, I still think it's worth it, and I think it's an important service to have available.
Sure. I mean, grocery stores are clunky too.
Right, if you think about it.
You don't see the clunkiness of the grocery store because you don't see the produce that was malformed and essentially got thrown away.
Right.
You don't see the difficulty of transporting, the pineapple from Argentina here, right? Like you don't see the clunkiness of that food system. You just see the finished product, and because of that, we have some. I was way into saltwater fish when I was in college, and then briefly after, loved saltwater fish. I had the 80-gallon tank that it was gifted from a friend's dad. Used to have a fish store, so he had this tank in his backyard, and then I had to make all the filters myself because I didn't have any money to buy like the $400 filter. So it's like $25 a day's hardware. I could make this fancy thing, but through my journey of keeping these fish, I had this like puffer fish and these anemones and like all these ridiculous fish. A friend's mom came over to see it one day because they were like, you have a fish tank in your dorm room? I'm like, oh, it's so awesome. So they come over and she said, so like, what is it? 9 or 10 of those die. I was like, no, this is the only one I've ever had. And she's like, I know, but in the production, in the delivery of that one to you, I think it's 9 or 10 of those die on the way because sometimes they drop They put chemical agents in the water to like freeze the fish, essentially stun them so they can pull them out, or it's a shock to the fish, right? To getting yanked out of the water and then transported. So it's all this mess. So I realized it's like, oh, even if I keep this one, just by participating in this, I killed 9 of them, right? And that killed me. I couldn't. Yeah, I like tried to have them tanks into my early 20s, but I was like, I feel too bad.
Yeah.
Right. So again, if you take that into consideration in your produce selection at a store like Albertsons or Winco, nothing against it, right? Like I'm not poo-pooing on them, but in comparison to you're saying, well, it's a little clunky. You might get too many tomatoes. Yeah, but how many tomatoes go bad when you want that one random tomato from Winco and they're like, okay, we have tomatoes here, 365. What has to happen to get those tomatoes?
Yeah.
Right. It's freezing. My dad lives in Alaska in Anchorage. He's like, dude, tomatoes. This is wild that we have them here. Yeah. But again, I appreciate your point. There is some clunkiness, but again.
And to that point too, I did want to say, like, you'll get stuff that maybe doesn't look as good. Yeah. We'll include stuff in the bag that, has little dings and stuff because like there's nothing wrong with it.
Right.
And so like it's on, there is a point of cutoff where it's like, no, that we can't put that in the bag. And so
too many vole bites, just get rid of it.
Exactly. Oh my God, the voles, man. Or that's what, if you ever get carrots without tops on them or any green at all, where it's like cut, like that was why, because we're cutting off the vole bites. Oh my God, it's just so bad out there. But I can't lose that many carrots. Like,
right. So, and there's nothing wrong with the rest of the carrot. It's like literally you have 100% of the carrot.
I did some research. It's not like you're gonna get.
It's leaching into and it's like
cut it off.
99.8% of the carrot is fine except for this little bite. Yeah, chop off 5% of it and send the rest.
Yeah. So there and every once in a while we do get a complaint like, hey, like, and maybe we'll miss something. Like maybe I'll miss the bottom of the beet did have a big bite of from a gopher out of it, and we missed it, and just let me know. We'll run another one over. Like we miss them sometimes when we're cleaning up, or so just let us know. But yeah, so there are some things of like, it might not look as pretty as the other store. Most of the time, what I'm talking about is just like a beet that's funny looking, not it's not the perfect round thing, or like I'm
has
not
an evil twin attached.
I'm not even messing with melons this year. It is so bad last year, but like there are a couple of like dings in those, and those you kind of do have to be careful of because of disease and stuff. But it's so we have put stuff in the bag that like. It just doesn't look as great sometimes, but
again, that's an engineered perception that's unrealistic, right? Like if you go to Albertsons, how many tomatoes had to be produced to get the selection of tomatoes that you have now? It's like you're literally getting 10% or 20% of the gross tomatoes produced, and that's when you think like, oh, all tomatoes look this way. No, they don't, and they were perfectly fine.
Well, that has to do with like variety and like they've bred tomatoes to be uniform on the shelf. Right. And in doing so, what they found, well, I mean, everybody knows, they're like tasteless. Right. So the thing in the genes that says to look a certain way also has a connection to flavor. Right. And so that's why. And so like my goal here isn't to I don't want to be preachy. I don't want to like try to train people to look the other way when stuff doesn't look as good. Like that's not what I'm quite
set
saying.
Expectations.
But I am.
You're getting real produce from a real farm,
right? I do think it's fair to be like, not everything has to look perfect and everything. It's still safe. It's still good to eat, and you're gonna have some bomb flavor with it. So
right, you see those giant tomato trucks delivering produce, right? Where it's like the tomatoes topped over. So I actually found out years back that the tomatoes on the bottom have some ungodly amount of force put on them because I mean, you imagine 8 feet of tomatoes pushing down. That's a lot of weight. And so you're talking about, the tomatoes have been bred to withstand transport. It has nothing to do with flavor. It has nothing to do with nutrition. They were bred specifically just so they could get to your door looking a certain way. And there are trade-offs with that breeding. That's just it.
Well, and just how they're doing it too. So like most of them I think are coming from Florida. And they're harvested green, so that's going to affect the flavor too. It's kind of it's kind of a mess.
Right. It's like bananas, right? They're all
Right.
harvested super green, and then they ripen along the way.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's not. They weren't ready to eat in the first place.
Yeah. Yeah. And a lot of times they're even ripened before in the truck with it sounds worse than it actually is, but ethylene gas, which is a natural thing. So like, if you keep those same tomatoes in a tote that's closed, they're producing their own ethylene gas, and that's how you can get like stuff to ripen up in a paper bag on the counter because you're like keeping that ethylene gas in there, and it's helping to. So it sounds,
Gas? Did you say
like
gas?
Michael Pollan will tell it. So like, yeah, so they're picked green, they're ripened with ethylene gas, and he doesn't say that ethylene gas is natural and that it's just speeding up the natural process that it's already going to be going through. But it's still like an added thing that you have to do that just kind of illustrates, again, the clunkiness of how we're growing, transporting, and then consuming food.
Right.
Conversely, and this just cuts out all of that middleman stuff. So.
And there was towards the end of the season last year, you had opened up the berries, right? And you said to people like, "Hey, come grab some berries, whatever you want." And so I hadn't really spent a lot of time on the farm, and so I took my boys over there to grab berries, and there was just something different about wandering through this area. These giant, well manicured berry bushes, them getting fresh berries, finding fresh berries, getting super excited about it. And then we were looking at some of the other stuff. And it's just like, this is right. Like, this is way better than, I went and picked cherries. I remember when I was a kid, we'd go to some farms, and I think a lot of them have since stopped doing that for liability reasons and whatnot. But yeah, right. It was such a fun thing as a kid. And it was fun doing that again with my kids, where it's like, this is when you get a big basket of blackberries, this is where the blackberries come from. Like giant, thorns, and you got to be careful, and it's this arduous task. But like, this is so great because you like found that blackberry in there, and you scratched your hand and you plucked it off and you ate it. It's like, that's connection. Yeah. Right. And I think they benefit greatly from that. Even if they don't understand it now, they're gonna have an understanding of like, oh, this is where blackberries come from. I can't believe how much work it would take to get a bin of blackberries, now knowing what I have to do to get one blackberry. Yeah. Yeah.
For me, it's been watching kids harvest a carrot for the first time. That's so much fun. And they're like, what? Like, because a lot of times, I don't know, carrots are often in like kid farming books and stuff, but like, I don't know, there's just something a little bit lost in those cartoony translations, but
you need to do purple carrots, bro.
Yeah.
Have some purple carrots in there.
They don't taste as good. The ones that I've done have not tasted as good. So like, I actually am doing some this year, so you'll see it in the CSA, a rainbow. It's like a rainbow variety. But, sure. And there's another one that I like called like Dragon Core or something. It's like a purple core inside. So there are a couple of different ones I experiment with, all the time. But for the most part, I just stick with the staples because the flavor's a little bit better. But yeah, we got some coming. Maybe some surprises.
There are some. Aren't there some varieties of tomatoes that are like black?
Oh yeah.
That would be wild.
There's some that are like black, but most of the time they really mean like purple. Like one of my favorite cherry tomatoes is black cherry tomato, and if you look it up, it's not black. It's more like a purple, dark purple. Yeah,
it's like an eggplant, but a tiny one.
Yeah. Well, the shade's a little different than even that. Gotcha. But yeah, there's a lot of different tomato varieties. Yeah, I do like. I've done up to 80. And every year I pare it down in terms of what I'm growing, and then like we've done the plant sale at the farm as well, and I think I had like 30, 40 varieties of tomato. So yeah, there's a lot, but yeah, and a lot of various colors. Like there's some white ones. Yes. There's some ones that are actually green when they're ripe. Yeah. And it just. The flavor profile is different with all of them.
Man, I'm getting really excited. I'm a huge tomato hound. Yeah. Oh yeah. Oh, so we actually have this beautiful picture of my. He's now 9, but I think he was like 2, and we had a hill in our backyard, and I actually made terraced garden beds up the hill, and then I built stairs along them, and it was a whole big process because it doesn't matter. But the point is, he was so into cherry tomatoes that we have this picture of him literally going up to a cherry tomato that was dangling in front of him. He's like eating it off of the vine,
of the thing. Yeah.
right? And it's wild. I'm like, do you
great.
think that tomato plant knows it's being eaten alive right now? Like, you'll never get a fresher tomato. It's literally still on the vine. Like, there's nutrients flowing to it.
Yeah.
And
you
he
can see the
loved them.
pollen on the tomato. Yeah.
Oh man, they're so good. They're just and those the little pear-shaped orange ones are just wild, man. That's like
Yellow
candy.
pear. Yeah.
Oh, God bless them, man. It's good. So when does this all start?
Yeah, so just kind of the 401 on the CSA. Like May 16th is the first one, but like I said, if you're a couple weeks late, we'll just prorate it.
Great.
Real easy to do the math on that. It goes for 20 weeks, basically like May 16th or the 23rd if you're doing the half.
Sure.
And through basically October. And I think the last one's like October 17th or something. And then I try and do a bonus one, and so far every year it's worked out, of kind of storage crops on Thanksgiving. So really, you're getting 21 deliveries. So like onions and see, because like our nation's harvest festival is a month after our CSA here
close.
ends, and so it's like I want to remind you where you got a lot of stuff this year. So onions. This is separate too, but I don't grow many potatoes. I have in the past. The soil is just too sticky. It doesn't work here. I know we're in Idaho. A lot of people move in here. They're like, they want some Idaho potatoes. So
let's do some vertical potato farming next year. Like, get those big bins and you just pull off the board and yank the potatoes out.
Yeah.
It'd be awesome.
I just outsource that a little bit. I get it from other farms in the area, and that are doing it more mechanically too. There are some crops that really do make sense to plant, harvest mechanically with a tractor.
Like sweet potatoes.
Yes, sweet potato. And we don't do a whole lot of, like, I don't know of a whole lot of sweet potato growers around here. You can do them in the garden, but like it's got to be a home garden, and they're in the ground for like most of the season, I think. I've tried them a couple times and it hasn't worked out. Mostly because I get busy with other stuff and then I don't tend to them. But
yeah, sweet potato is kind of like a bulky thing too.
Yeah,
like people aren't really. They're really good if somebody knows how to prepare them, because a lot of people like they become liquefied, right? Like essentially when you cook them correctly, and then it's a lot of meat, right? Like a good sweet potato is like this big, and
huge,
now you're like, what am I going to do with this? It's like a quarter gallon of sweet potato, right? Like shout out, put some salsa on it. It's actually amazing.
Yeah. Well, and the cool thing about that is I think it's the only food that you can eat just that.
Right. It's like it's one of the superfoods.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like they have like complete protein and
yeah.
something else. Yeah. There are people actually that in Okinawa following World War II that survived, because obviously things were very dark in Japan after World War II, and they survived off of their version of sweet potatoes, and they ate them like three times a day, and it was the only food they had, but they were able to survive. Well, I mean, I don't know if they were fine, but they survived.
Yeah.
You know, like they weren't malnourished after like 3 weeks of not getting vital nutrients.
Because like you think of any one thing, like if you eat only tomatoes, like you're not going to last all that long.
Yeah, right.
And you're going to get the runs.
It's going to be bad. And like if you only eat broccoli, if you could. Yeah, it's a little rough. But yeah, sweet potatoes are great, but I get what you're saying. Yeah. Anyway, so you get roughly 21. And it starts May 16th.
Or 11 if you do the half. And then that's it. Once you sign up, you just got to kind of pay attention to what day of the week it is to make sure you leave that cooler out. For whoever's delivering, usually Chris Gibbons. He's going to do it again this year. So
God bless that man.
I know. He's going to go be around with his golf cart. Give him a wave if you see him.
And Gracie, his dog.
And yep. And yeah.
How can people sign up?
Oh, yeah. Sorry. DCRfarm.com.
There you go.
Really easy.
Perfect.
And then you'll see the big one, the half CSA and the full CSA. And,
great.
Yeah,
and if people want to come down,
it's exclusive. You got to be a resident of Dry Creek to do it. This is just for you guys and special pricing for you guys. So yeah,
that's awesome. If people wanted to come down and like meet you and see the farmer, do you have specific days, or is it just market days? And what are those days?
Anytime. I love it when people come out and visit. Just showing the kids and stuff, a lot. It's a working farm, so a lot of times there's equipment everywhere. Like right now, there's just piles of compost everywhere. But we have a parking lot now, so
Great.
feel free to drive. But I mean, really encourage walking. I mean,
It's great. It's so easy. Right next to the Shrek pond. Just go across the bridge.
Shrek Pond between the old ugly barn and the house. They're doing work on it now.
What are they going to do with that?
I don't know. I'm not sure.
Something.
Yeah.
It's going to be something.
It's gonna be something. But come on out. But easiest time to get me, it's gonna be the markets. The Saturday morning, 9 to noon, and Tuesday afternoons 4 to 6.
Perfect.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
So and I never lock anything. That deer fence is just for the deer. So just close that back up if you ever want to go have a picnic dinner out on the farm, like, because it's real nice at sunset and stuff. So
I want to ask you
yeah.
if you want to do like a summer kickoff at some point and do like a half pig, like smoke,
Sweet, dude.
like
Yeah.
we could do the pig and then whenever, and again it's only if you want to, but I feel like we could do like a 20 or 30 person dinner on the farm, do like a half pig or a whole pig, maybe a 50-pound swine or something, and then have all kinds of, obviously the pig's the main protein, and then you have some other things from the garden. If we could pull that off, that would be super fun.
We got to be a little careful with like food safety stuff, but because we are and we are going to do a so we just probably wouldn't be selling tickets. It'd be more like we'd frame it more like a potluck thing.
Sure.
But we are going to do an on-farm dinner in early June with Chef Sarah again from Pacific.
Gotcha.
So we're going to do another thing like that, and that'll be mostly greens and cheaper than last. And then we are going to do the one in probably September again too. So 2 official like farm dinners, but then that'd be a good idea. Like, do something that's just like the kickoff party. We did the Earth Day first on farm market, and that was a big success. A lot of the people that were doing like work or offering services or products in health and wellness came out and set up some tables. That was a lot of fun. I'm gonna have a list of those people at the markets. I haven't like kind of made it up yet, but so you can contact those people, because I do want the farm to be like a hub for that sort of thing. If people are interested in
a better life,
more than
just a better life.
You
had the lean feast guy there. That's great. And then
like,
you had breathwork guy there. Like I remember seeing a bunch of those people. Like, okay, this is something. Like you guys are really trying to present a positive kind of adventure through life.
Yeah, and I do want to be careful, because like stuff like that can sound preachy, and it can sound like, well, if you're not, then you should be like,
I think you're
down.
too
You know what I
sensitive.
mean?
I think you're
Maybe.
too sensitive, Dan. You're not being preachy by showcasing things that like people are just
so
there
the
to
way
help.
we're doing it like this. Yeah, I'm just like, these people are available, and like so it's so cool the amount of people in this neighborhood that are like into that stuff, and because when it comes down to it, it's like we're so hyper individualized and atomized in our society, and like having a community that like does get together and does help each other grow, and I don't want to like reach their goals and stuff like, but like
fulfill your potential.
Sometimes that language is what can start to sound preachy, is what I was getting at, but like no, but the relationships that we can form, and we have these people doing this great work here. It's so great.
Yeah. It's awesome to, being part of the community as it grows, and really.
It's been really fun being a part of that. Yeah. Seeing the different people moving in and what they're doing, and
right, and really promoting a certain thing. And not saying that it's required or anything, but just showcasing awesome people that are trying to, again, give options for life.
Yeah.
And that's a big thing. Like
people don't think about like breath work.
Right.
Like that can be a game changer. Yeah. That's great stuff.
It's good times, man. All right. Well, listen, we've
thank
definitely
you for doing this. And,
no problem. I'll post it. And again, we chatted way longer. As
I was
always,
like, let's do a 5-minute thing on the CSA.
There's no way we're chatting for 5 minutes.
We don't operate in that way.
We would have to cut down so much. Anyway, it doesn't matter. But I'll get this posted May 16th. Everything kicks off. If you start later, you can get prorated. You can do a full bundle. You do a half bundle. You're going to be about 21 if you start from the beginning, 20 technically, but one bonus in October. It's going to be fantastic.
Thanksgiving for that. So in November, that's the bonus one. Yeah.
Great. Fantastic. And again, specific to DCR residents. Yeah.
All delivered.
So,
God bless it.
Yeah.
Thank you, Dan. I appreciate you.
Thank you.
All right.
Yeah.
Quick shout out to our sponsor, C Squared Social. C Squared Social is the leading expert in social media marketing and creative marketing. They have fantastic platforms. I have been a client of theirs for some time. I cannot recommend them highly enough. C Squared Social for all of your social media and creative marketing needs.
Can you stay